After I had already bought her parents Christmas gifts and was planning to propose, my girlfriend told me I couldn't go with her for the holiday because her friend would be there. I moved on months later. Now, she can't stand seeing me with someone better. This all happened around Christmas of 2022, and one of my best friends told me I had to share the story because it was too perfect not to. So, here it goes. My then girlfriend left me 3 days before Christmas. She explained that instead of bringing me to the family dinner, her friend would be attending. But that wasn't the worst part. My name is Daniel. I'm 27 years old. I was working in project management for a mid-sized company in Ohio. I had stayed in the same city since college. Why move when I had a good job and a place of my own? Plus, I had a truck in excellent condition that was already fully paid off. My life wasn't exciting, but it was stable and comfortable. My Silverado was my first big adult purchase. I bought it used from a farmer who had taken care of it like his own child. It only had 40,000 miles and an impeccable maintenance history. I spent the first weekend installing a bed cover and upgrading the sound system because the original speakers sounded like they were underwater. After several relationships that ended badly, apparently, being responsible is worse than acting like an immature man-child, I had given up on dating. I focused on my work, the gym, and restoring an '87 Camaro I bought online. That was until the summer of 2021 when my friend Matthias threw a barbecue. That's where I met Lorena. Lorena was everything I thought I was looking for. An elementary school art teacher with a contagious laugh and summer dresses that fit her perfectly. We connected instantly. She liked that I had stability, furniture that wasn't from IKEA, and that I knew how to plan a date without splitting an appetizer at a chain restaurant. For the first time, someone valued me for being a responsible adult instead of seeing it as boring. Dating Lorena was different from the start. We talked about a future together. She asked me about my lease renewal. She mentioned that one day we could move in together and even showed enthusiasm for the Camaro. Unlike other partners who complained when I talked about cars, she would bring me coffee in the garage and ask questions about what I was doing. She even helped me sand rust off the rear fenders while wearing a borrowed pair of her mom's overalls. Her parents accepted me immediately. Alvaro, her father, was a retired firefighter, a traditional man who taught me how to properly season a cast-iron skillet and let me help him rebuild the engine of his '76 Corvette. We spent Sundays in his garage, drinking beer and talking about everything: football, tools, family. His workshop was an automotive sanctuary, clean, organized, with every tool hanging in its place. He had installed a lift to work under the cars and had a compressor that could power pneumatic tools all day. Most of his tools came from his father, genuine American-made pieces from the '50s, sturdy and nearly indestructible. While he taught me how to repair carburetors, he'd tell me stories from his career and his family. Her mother, Patricia, treated me like the son she never had. She would send me food, text me interesting articles, and ask for my opinion on everything, from the paint for the guest room to which lawnmower Alvaro should buy. When we went to dinner, she would pull me aside to show me her garden or ask about my job. Patricia grew vegetables as if it were a scientific experiment. She had perfect rows, charts with harvest and growth dates. She'd ask me questions about soil pH and irrigation and taught me how to preserve food. We even redesigned her greenhouse together using my project management skills. They always told Lorena how lucky she was. Alvaro would drop hints about marriage, and Patricia would talk about grandchildren with a smile. I truly loved them. In October 2022, I decided it was time. I had a $7,500 ring hidden in my sock drawer. The plan was to propose on Christmas during dessert, with both our families present. Everything was meticulously planned. In November, I fully embraced the Christmas spirit. My family always took the holidays seriously, so I decided to organize everything in advance. It was our first serious Christmas as a couple with engagement on the horizon. I started by coordinating dates, booked a dinner at a restaurant Lorena wanted to try, and bought a green sweater because she said it looked good on me. I even organized the gift exchange so nothing felt rushed. The dinner was to be at a restaurant called The Refinery, which she had wanted to go to after seeing it on Instagram. I booked it for 7 p.m. on the 24th and requested the best table with a view of the city. I called 3 times to make sure. Next came the gift stage. During Thanksgiving dinner, Patricia casually mentioned an antique porcelain set that reminded her of her grandmother. It took me 3 weeks of visiting antique shops in 2 counties, but I found 4 identical pieces. Alvaro, for his part, mentioned a book on the history of firefighters. I found a first edition online. And for Lorena, I had saved for months to buy her a professional art supply set, the Prismacolor Premier, with over 200 pencils and brushes. It cost almost $1,000, but seeing her excited would be worth it all. I had a plan B for everything. What if it snowed? What if the restaurant canceled? What if her family's schedule changed? That's just who I am. I show I care by paying attention to details, remembering things, and organizing everything to go well. But in early December, everything started to fall apart. The first sign was when I showed Lorena the porcelain pieces. I was excited. I laid them out on my table like a hunter displaying his treasure. She barely looked up from her phone and said, "Oh, that's nice," as if I were showing her a grocery receipt. "Your mom is going to freak out when she sees them," I said, hoping for a reaction. She just mumbled an "aha" while continuing to scroll through Instagram. I tried not to make a big deal of it. She told me work was stressing her out with parent-teacher conferences and Christmas events. At first, it seemed credible. Being a teacher in December must be exhausting. She would come home worn out, complaining about demanding parents and impossible deadlines. I would make her dinner and let her vent while she graded papers in my kitchen. At first, I thought her attachment to her phone was just a way to unwind after a long day. I didn't think much of it. Then she started mentioning Yvonne, an old friend from college who, she told me, had moved back to town for a job at a startup. At first, it was sporadic comments. Yvonne says I should travel more, or Yvonne thinks this town is too small for creative people. I wasn't alarmed. It's normal to reconnect with old friends. But soon, every conversation revolved around him. Yvonne thinks I should take more risks with my art. Yvonne says small towns kill dreams. Yvonne has a million stories from when he lived in Chicago. It turned out he worked for one of those alternative coffee companies that sell artisanal blends to hipster cafes. Probably the type who has strong opinions on brewing methods and owns more flannel shirts than a lumberjack. Lorena couldn't stop talking about his creative energy, how inspiring he was, and all the countries he had visited before turning 30. She started to lament that she had never left Ohio. Although I'm not the jealous type, I began to notice certain signs. During dinner, she was always on her phone, and when I asked about her day, she gave me evasive answers. She stopped specifying who she was going out with and would just say she was meeting some friends. Things became even more blurred when, on December 15th, I tried to confirm our Christmas dinner reservations. She told me that maybe we should leave things more open this year. Open how? I asked. She replied that maybe we should be less structured and more spontaneous. By then, the signs were clear, but I wanted to believe she was just stressed about the holidays. How wrong I was. On December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas, I was in the living room wrapping the last of the gifts. I had organized them by groups, her family, mine, our friends. I had everything laid out like a Christmas logistics operation. That's when she walked in with that expression we all recognize. "We need to talk." I knew something serious was coming. I thought she wanted to adjust schedules, reorganize something, but no. She sat on the couch and, in a hesitant voice, dropped the bomb. "I'm taking Yvonne to Christmas dinner instead of you." I froze. I literally dropped the ribbon I was tying on the gift in my hands. I had to ask her to repeat what she said because my mind refused to process it. "What did you just say?" I asked. She took a nervous breath. "I know this is a terrible time to say this, but Yvonne and I have been talking." She tried to explain that everything between us felt too rigid, as if we were following a pre-written script, and that with Yvonne, everything felt more natural, more free. I put the gift aside. Ironically, it was for her. It was clear she had been thinking about this for a while. She said she tried to find the right moment to talk about it but never found it. Her voice cracked as if she were the one suffering. "You always think of everything," she said through tears, "the reservations, the details, how you remember what my family says. That should make me feel loved, but I feel trapped. Trapped by someone who cared for her, trapped by someone who was planning a future together." She said Yvonne wasn't like that he just lived in the moment. And that's when she dropped the final bomb. "Last week, I saw the ring box in your drawer. I know what you were planning for Christmas dinner." I was floored. "You went through my things." "I was looking for my phone charger and I saw it." "Daniel, I'm only 25. I'm too young to get engaged. Can you imagine how awkward it would have been if I had to turn you down in front of our families?" Then she added, as if she were doing me a favor, "Seriously, I'm saving you the humiliation." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A favor. She said this way, we could both get out of it without public embarrassment. "Very thoughtful of you," I replied sarcastically. She was crying openly, but it was the cry of someone whose plan isn't going as expected. She claimed Yvonne didn't pressure her, that he just enjoyed the present. When I reminded her about the gifts, the reservations, her family's expectations, she replied, "I'll handle it. They'll understand, and maybe it's for the best. We want different things, Daniel. I need someone who doesn't have every step planned out on a spreadsheet." I could have tried to convince her. I could have reminded her how much she liked my way of organizing everything before Captain Spontaneity showed up, but I didn't. Something inside me just shut down. Like when someone in a meeting suggests a terrible idea, and you politely decide not to respond. I got up, gathered all the gifts I had bought for her family, and placed them carefully on the coffee table. "Give these to your parents. They deserve them, even if I'm not there to see them open them." She looked at me as if she didn't recognize me. "You're making this so much harder than it needs to be." "No, I'm making it exactly as hard as you did." I went to my room, got her travel bag from the closet where she kept her things when she stayed over, and handed it to her. I opened the front door. "Can we still be friends?" she asked, bag in hand. I looked at her calmly. "You made your decision, Lorena. I'm not going to argue or help you feel better about what you did." She cried harder. But not out of remorse. It was frustration at not being in control of the situation. "Welcome to the club." After she left, I sat on the couch in silence for about 10 minutes until I snapped out of it. I called my best friend, Gabriel. "I need to get out of here." "What happened?" "You sound like they just announced another Matrix movie," he said. "Lorena left me. 3 days before Christmas. For Yvonne." Silence. "That dork from college with the man bun and the artisanal coffee? You've got to be kidding me." 20 minutes later, I was at his place with a bag of clothes. He had his console ready and a fridge full of drinks, as if he were prepared for a post-breakup emergency operation. And yes, Christmas at Gabriel's place ended up being much better than I imagined. As he loaded a game, he said, "So, Princess Spontaneous couldn't handle being with someone who has his life together and traded you for a budget Ryan Gosling?" She said I was too structured, that I planned everything. Of course. How terrible that someone remembers her birthday and doesn't live in his mom's basement eating frozen food. He handed me a controller. "Did you tell her about the ring?" he asked. "She found it in my drawer. She told me that by leaving me before I could propose, she was doing me a favor." Gabriel paused the game and stared at me. "I'm sorry, are you serious?" he said in disbelief. "Those were her exact words," I replied. "Bro, I've heard a lot of crazy things in my life, but that takes the cake." He unpaused the game and was immediately eliminated, apparently by a 12-year-old kid. "You know what this means, right?" he continued as he restarted the match. "You just dodged a bullet the size of a spaceship. Imagine being married to someone who considers it a flaw to be cared for." Gabriel's apartment was the perfect example of a bachelor pad, a 75-inch TV mounted on the wall, gaming chairs that looked like they were pulled from a race car, and enough consoles to stock a store. The kitchen had only a microwave, a mini fridge, and a coffee maker. Why complicate things? The guy had his priorities straight and zero complexes about living like a grown-up kid who pays his bills. We spent Christmas Eve playing video games and eating frozen snacks while making fun of strangers online. Every time the situation with Lorena popped into my head, Gabriel would crack some absurd comment or a joke that made me laugh, despite everything. "You know this is for the best," he said, laughing, around 2 a.m. as we lost another match. "She's going to spend Christmas explaining to her family why she traded a guy like you for a detox juice influencer." That made me genuinely laugh. "Her dad is going to hate him," I added. "Alvaro is going to eat him for breakfast." I give it 2 hours before he starts interrogating Yvonne about his 5-year plan just to make him uncomfortable. On Christmas morning, I woke up early out of habit. I made coffee, went for a walk around Gabriel's neighborhood, and then called my parents. They weren't surprised when I told them about the breakup. According to them, they already had their doubts about Lorena but preferred not to say anything while they saw me happy. "She always seemed to be looking for something more," my mom said, as if this was just a phase until something more exciting came along. "Thanks for the timely warning," I said sarcastically. Around noon, my phone started buzzing non-stop. The first message was from Lorena. "My mom won't stop asking about you and I don't know what to tell her." Then another, "Yvonne is trying, but he doesn't understand our traditions." And later in the afternoon, "The tea set you gave my mom made her cry. She said it was the most beautiful gift she's ever received." During dinner, her parents started texting me directly. "Alvaro, Daniel, Patricia and I are furious with Lorena for what she did to you. You didn't deserve that. Your gifts were incredible, and it breaks our hearts that you're not here. You will always be part of our family." Patricia sent me a long text, "Honey, I don't understand what happened to our daughter. To us, you are still family. That Yvonne is rude and arrogant. We've already told her. We love you very much and are so sorry for what happened." They even sent me pictures, Patricia using the tea set, Alvaro reading the book I gave him. They were clearly trying to show Lorena everything she had thrown away. One of Alvaro's messages came with a picture of him glaring at Yvonne with contempt during dinner, while the other guy tried to justify why he didn't eat meat. Apparently, Mr. Spontaneous was also Mr. Vegan, which didn't sit well with a retired firefighter who didn't consider a meal complete without at least 2 types of meat. The last message of the night was from Lorena again. "I think I made a mistake. Can we talk after the holidays?" I read all the messages, wrote replies, deleted them, and put my phone on airplane mode. She had made a decision. I wasn't going to be the one to help her feel better about it. 2 weeks later, she called me around 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Her voice was shaky, as if she had been crying for hours. "Daniel, I need to talk to you," she said through sobs. "Yvonne left." I answered without emotion. "He only came for the holidays. He didn't want anything serious. He's going back to Chicago." Her voice broke even more. "I destroyed everything we had for someone who was just playing with me. What a surprise. Nobody saw that coming, except for everyone. Please, don't be cruel. I'm falling apart, and you're being so cold. And what did you expect? You chose the guy who lives in the moment over the one who was thinking about the future. It turns out, living in the moment was just an excuse not to commit." Apparently, Yvonne had always been clear. He was only going to be here for 6 weeks to help with a pop-up cafe. Then he was going back to his real life in Chicago. He never planned to stay or build anything serious. For weeks, she kept calling. She left increasingly desperate voicemails. Then her friends started contacting me, as if they were forming some kind of reconciliation committee. First, Naira, "Lorena is a wreck. She misses you so much. She knows she made a mistake and has learned from it." Then Carla, "She's been crying since New Year's. Can't you at least talk to her? She needs closure. You're being so cruel." Meanwhile, Gabriel would send me screenshots of her Instagram posts with comments like, "Wow, someone discovered deep quotes on Pinterest. This is the same girl who said you were too intense. She seems pretty overwhelmed by her own drama now. Her profile became a festival of melancholic quotes like, "You only realize what you had when it's gone," accompanied by photos of herself with a sad look in cafes. One day, Gabriel even commented on one of her photos that said, "I feel so lost in this big world," with, "Maybe you should try a GPS and some common sense." I almost choked with laughter. By March, the calls stopped. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she had moved back in with her parents and started therapy. Honestly, I'm happy for her. I hope she manages to fix whatever led her to ruin her life that way. As for me, I decided to focus on actually living instead of just planning it. I signed up for photography classes on weekends, which led me to take trips around Ohio, exploring state parks and small towns. I also started working out more regularly. The photography classes were at a community center downtown, taught by a veteran photographer who worked for newspapers back when that was still a stable profession. I learned to use the manual mode on an old Nikon my grandfather had left me, which had been stored away for years. I documented the restoration process of my Camaro, which turned into a photo series about classic cars and blue-collar pride. Some of those images were even selected for a local exhibition. Work was going great, too. The organizational skills that Lorena found overwhelming turned out to be valuable. I got promoted. The promotion came with a better salary and an office of my own with windows, something I didn't have before. I started managing larger projects, coordinating teams, and handling timelines and budgets for entire commercial centers. But the best part was, I finally fulfilled one of my dreams. I bought a 2018 Harley Sportster. It had some issues, but its frame was solid. I spent many weekends in Gabriel's garage, taking apart and rebuilding that old motorcycle piece by piece. One Saturday afternoon, while we were adjusting the carburetor, he hit me with one of his usual lines. "You know what they call a motorcycle that won't start?" he asked with a smirk. "An expensive paperweight with trust issues. Like my love life, but with more noise." That was Gabriel, always cracking bad jokes. But there was something truly therapeutic about working with my hands. Every time that engine roared to life, I felt like I was getting back a piece of what Lorena had tried to take from me, my self-confidence. I started going out a lot more with the guys. We'd go to a sports bar downtown, play pool, watch the March Madness games. Being around people who didn't analyze every gesture or word, who just enjoyed the moment, was like a breath of fresh air. It was during this time that I met Valeria, thanks to a hiking group I had joined. She was the complete opposite of Lorena in the ways that really mattered. Where Lorena was impulsive and scattered, Valeria was thoughtful and stable. Where one sought constant excitement, the other valued building something lasting. Most importantly, she appreciated the things Lorena had always criticized about me. "I love that you remember the details," she told me when we were planning our third date. "It makes me feel like you really care about me." Valeria chose her career out of a genuine desire to help others, not out of some need to fulfill an artistic fantasy. She had grown up on a farm outside of Columbus. She knew how to fix things when they broke. She understood the importance of hard work and planning for the future. She could maneuver a truck with a trailer, change a tire, and cook a meal from scratch, no cardboard box required. Plus, she was fascinated by the Harley and wanted to learn how to ride it. On our first Christmas together, she was excited to do everything right. "I want to meet your family, and I want you to meet mine," she told me as we picked out a tree. "My family always leaves everything to the last minute, and I've always wanted to experience what it's like to have everything planned in advance." "Are you sure?" "I get a little too excited about Christmas preparations," I warned her with a smile. She laughed and kissed me. "Promise me you'll do it this time." We were in a store buying decorations when my phone rang. A message from an unknown number. "Hi, it's Lorena. I know it's been a while, but I wanted to say hi. I'm doing much better and I'd love to talk, maybe get coffee." I showed the message to Valeria. She read it and asked, "Do you want to reply?" I thought about it for 2 seconds. No. I deleted the message, and we went back to debating whether gold or silver tinsel would look better in the living room. "Good choice," Valeria commented. "The gold matches your couch better." And then came the ambush at the Christmas party. Our friend Matthias hosts one every year at his house. Valeria and I arrived a little late, as usual. Everything was going well. I felt calm until I saw her. Lorena, by the punch bowl, checking her phone every 30 seconds as if she were waiting for a taxi. Valeria spotted her right away. That's her. Yep. And she looks as lost as I imagined. While I was talking to Matthias about his new job, I felt a presence behind me. I turned around, and there was Lorena, with a forced smile, clutching her drink like a shield. Daniel, I didn't know you were coming tonight. You look great. Healthy. I put my arm around Valeria's waist. Hi, Lorena. This is Valeria, my girlfriend. Valeria extended her hand with a genuine smile. It's a pleasure. I know you and Daniel have history. Nice to meet you. Lorena completely ignored her hand, looked her up and down, and repeated her name as if it tasted bitter. Valeria, right? I've been thinking about us, Lorena said in a strained tone. About what we had, about the plans we made. That was a long time ago, I replied calmly. I've moved on. But don't you miss it? What we used to have. How you organized everything for us. She was looking only at me, as if Valeria didn't exist. But Valeria didn't stay silent. Daniel has been wonderful. He's helping my mom perfect her family's Christmas rib recipe and found incredible gifts for my nephews. I don't know how he remembers what everyone wants, but it's one of the things I love about him. Lorena's face went through several emotions in seconds, surprise, anger, jealousy, before settling on pure hostility. How nice, she said in a sickeningly sweet voice. Of course, it's easy to value someone when you haven't had to deal with his obsessive need to control everything yet. Just give it time. Excuse me. What did you just say? Valeria replied, stepping forward. Please, Lorena said, completely losing her composure. Can we talk alone, without her? No, I interrupted. Have a good night, Lorena. Are you serious? You're going to choose her over what we had? I did that 13 months ago. When you decided for both of us. But it was a mistake. I was scared. I was young and I did something stupid. Her voice rose. You can't just replace me with some random stranger. Valeria and I started walking towards the exit. I stopped for a moment and looked back at her one last time. The next time someone plans a Christmas with you, try not to tell them 3 days before that they're uninvited to their own proposal. And that's when she lost control. Are you serious right now? She yelled from across the room. You're just going to walk away like that after everything we shared? The entire place fell silent. Valeria squeezed my hand. We kept walking, but Lorena didn't stop. She doesn't know you like I do. She's just a replacement. She'll never understand what you and I had. Her friends, Naira and Carla, rushed over from the other side of the room, trying to calm her down. Lorena, stop, you're making a scene, one of them whispered through gritted teeth. I don't care. He's making a huge mistake, and everyone knows it. As they practically dragged her out, Carla shot us a look of contempt. Real classy, Daniel. Bringing a random girl just to hurt Lorena. And did you seriously downgrade? She added with a sneer. Outside, Valeria squeezed my hand again. Well, that was more dramatic than I expected. For me or for her? Definitely for her. She had the look of someone watching her future walk away. Maybe so, but it's not my problem anymore. The rest of the party was great after that. We planned what to do for New Year's. We talked about possible vacation destinations. We just enjoyed being together, drama-free. By summer, my life was better than I ever imagined. The Harley restoration was finished. Gabriel and I had transformed that battered Sportster into a cover-worthy machine. Every Saturday, we'd ride across Ohio, visiting small towns, hidden bars, just enjoying the freedom. You know what's funny? Gabriel said to me one weekend as we had lunch at a place whose name I couldn't even pronounce. A year ago, you were planning Christmas dinner with a crazy person, and now you're living like you're in a Bruce Springsteen song. I call it personal evolution. Valeria moved into my apartment in April, and the transition was so smooth it felt like she had always lived there. She cooked like she'd graduated from a culinary school. She loved going to the gym with me. Most surprisingly, she never got upset when I disappeared for a while to work on the bike or spend time with the guys. She'd just smile and say, "Have fun, love." Then she'd post a story on Instagram saying how much she loved watching me do what I was passionate about. Her profile seemed like a tribute to our relationship, but not in a bad way. Photos of us on hikes, me working on the Harley, us cooking together on weekends. The captions were always things like, "Watching him follow his passions makes me fall in love all over again." Her friends would comment on how lucky she was to have found someone with stability and direction. And that's right when things started to get weird again. We discovered that Lorena, my ex, had been spying on us for months through fake social media accounts. Valeria started receiving messages from profiles with no picture, no clear threats, but with passive-aggressive phrases like, "Enjoy it while it lasts," or, "Some people only know how to steal others' happiness." It was obvious these accounts were made for the sole purpose of snooping on our lives. One of these accounts even sent messages to Valeria, suggesting she look into my past and ask me what really happened with my ex. Valeria showed me the screenshots, laughing, and at first, we took it as something pathetic. But Lorena soon moved from the virtual world to real-life harassment. She started showing up in my work parking lot, just watching the building from her car like she was in a badly written drama film. Security had to escort her off the premises on 2 occasions. She even started calling my coworkers, asking them to make me see reason because, according to her, I was making a huge mistake. The building has cameras everywhere, so we had recordings of her sitting for hours in front of the entrance. The security staff already recognized her car and would notify me as soon as they saw her. My boss, uncomfortable with the situation, even offered me a few days off. Imagine the embarrassment of trying to be professional while your ex turns your office into her personal surveillance base. And as if that weren't enough, she also called Gabriel. One night while we were working on his car, he told me. "Your ex called me yesterday," he said, as if it were a normal thing. "She wanted me to convince you that Valeria isn't right for you and that you're making a stupid mistake. I told her the only stupid thing was her showing up at your job like a low-budget stalker." What exactly did she say? The usual. That Valeria doesn't really know you, that you're in a rebound phase, and that you'll realize it when the excitement wears off. Then he smiled. I told her that at least Valeria doesn't need a restraining order to understand what boundaries are. The last straw was when she started leaving comments on our engagement photos with those fake accounts, calling Valeria a substitute or a rebound relationship. Soon, her allies, Naira and Carla, joined in, leaving sad emojis and childish comments like, "This won't last," as if we were 13. Then she started leaving gifts at my front door. White flowers accompanied by cheesy notes like, "Remembering what we had," or, "Some loves never die." Valeria was unsettled, and so was I. It was time to take legal action. I filed for a restraining order that prohibited her from coming within 500 feet of me, Valeria, our home, my work, or any place where it could be reasonably assumed we would be. I thought that would put an end to it. I was wrong. One Friday night, in late February 2024, we were at home, Valeria, Gabriel, and I, in the middle of an epic Mario Kart tournament. Valeria was crushing us without mercy and gloating as if she were born for it. And then we heard loud banging on the door. "Daniel, I know you're in there," a clearly intoxicated voice yelled. It was Lorena, completely drunk. "Valeria is no better than me. You're making the biggest mistake of your life." While I was looking for my phone to call the police, Gabriel got up and went straight to the intercom. "Wait," he said with a grin. "Let me handle this. I've been waiting for this moment." He pressed the button. "Hello, Lorena. Remember me? It's Gabriel, your ex's best friend." "Gabriel, tell Daniel to come out," she screamed. "He can't. He's busy being happy." But thanks for confirming that you're completely out of control. I'm not leaving until I talk to him. Perfect. The cops will be here in about 5 minutes. Unless you find orange to be a flattering color, I suggest you start practicing your cardio. Valeria was recording the whole scene, partly for safety, but also because Gabriel's performance was simply memorable. He added with a smirk, next time you want to call someone at midnight, maybe order a pizza. At least then someone will want to show up at your door. When the police arrived, she was sitting on the steps, crying and babbling incoherently about how she just wanted to talk, how Valeria had stolen her life, and how I wasn't the same person anymore. The neighbors, of course, were all outside watching the spectacle as if it were a free play. As the patrol car took her away, Gabriel looked at us and said, "Well, that was loud. Anyone want pizza?" I never heard from her again. I was told she moved to Portland to start over, though I'm not sure if she ever really understood what that meant. What I do know is that since that night, everything changed for the better. Valeria and I continued to build our life together, step by step. It wasn't all perfect, of course. We had our arguments, disagreements, and gray days. But there was something about her that always brought me back to a calm place. The way she looked at me, as if she knew that despite everything, we were heading in the same direction. We decided to get married in a simple ceremony, surrounded by people who truly added to our lives, without excessive luxury or obligatory invitations. Gabriel was there, of course, with his usual humor and a smile that couldn't hide his pride. His speech was brief, direct, and for once, he didn't make a joke about my past. He just said, "I've never seen him so at peace." That was enough. We didn't use the Harley as our getaway vehicle, as was the initial idea. Instead, we rented an old truck and went on a road trip along the coast, with no set destination, no reservations, no maps. Just her and me. At a gas station at sunset, Valeria looked at me from the passenger seat and said, "Sometimes all you need to heal is to stop looking back." And she was right. It wasn't about getting revenge or proving anything to anyone. It was about closing chapters, learning and moving forward, not repeating patterns, and making a choice, this time, from a place of peace. Today, when I think about everything that happened, I don't feel resentment, only gratitude. Because even the most chaotic stories can push you toward the life you truly deserve.